Hey everybody, we're going to be working in Photopea again, and I'm going to have you open up the picture that you resized and turned into me. And when you go into your main menu and click on File and Open, you will want to find, I've got a million pictures in here, the photograph that you were editing, and I'll hit Open. And you can see in the title name, IMG 1919, and then I've got the number 1 in parentheses. So this means that it's been edited one time. I've changed the size already, and now we're ready to start doing some additional edits to the picture. So the first thing that I'm going to have you work with is kind of fixing any issues with your exposure. And I'm going to give you 2 different tools that you may try and work with your overall tones in your picture. So we're going to start off by going into the image menu and then coming down to adjustments. Now when I hover over adjustments, you're going to see this big long menu pop out, and we're going to be working in that very first section. You can see there's kind of dividing lines in between similar tools. So the first one that I'm going to have you experiment with is levels. So I will click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and move that dialog box over so we can see what we're doing. When you open up levels, you're going to see this graph. And this graph right here is called a histogram. It is a graph of all the different tones in a picture. So it almost looks like mountains. If you have a lot of tones in an area, you have a lot of mountains, a big peak. If you have very few, you have something that looks like a valley almost. So you can see this is where our blacks are. These are our middle grays, and these are our whites. Right underneath the histogram, you can click on those little boxes and slide them. And by sliding them, you are going to adjust the values in your picture. So as I take my black slider and I start moving it to the right, you can see that my picture starts to get more and more black values added to it. Now, at this point, I've gone way overboard, so I'm going to back that away. The middle slider is for your midtones. And when I click and pull toward the black, I'm lightening up the middle tones. And when I pull toward the white, I'm darkening them up. Get that back to where we started, which is at a nice even 1. And then these are my white tones. If I click on the white slider and I start pulling over, again, I'm adding white to my picture. And of course, it's very easy to overdo this. So when you start, you can see that the black, the code number for black as far as color of pixels is 0. Middle gray is 1. And white is 255. When I do levels adjustments, I make small adjustments. So I think I'm going to want to darken this up just a little bit. So I'm going to move my middle slider over just a pinch. And I'll bring my white back over. Make sure I don't lose any of my white values. Then I'll hit OK. Now the cool thing in the upper right-hand corner of your picture is you have a history box. And this kind of shows you everything that you've done so far. So if you want to see the before and the after of that adjustment that you just made, you can click on Open. That's how I opened it. And then I can click back on Levels, and that puts the adjustment back on. If you don't like it, click back on Open and start from scratch. The other adjustment that you can use to play with the tones in your picture is the curves adjustment. So again, go to Image, Adjustments, and Curves. And again, I'll pull this box over to the side here so we can see how it affects my picture. So you can see you've got that histogram in the background here again, but then you've got this weird diagonal line. Generally, when photographers use curves, they are going to turn it into a very slight S curve. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to click where these two grid lines cross the diagonal, and I'm going to pull it slightly up, very gently. And then I'm going to come down to this area here that would have been over that cross of the grid lines, and I'm going to pull that slightly down. If you use your imagination, you can see that this is a very, very gentle curve that looks kind of like a letter S. I'll hit OK if I like it. And again, just like I did to test out how I did with my levels, I'm going to go back in my history. That's how I opened the picture. And this is with the curves adjustment. So this is your first step today. Use either the levels or the curves to adjust the tones in your picture.